Z. The timeless power of Martin Luther King Jr.'s words hits us today, not just because they are historically significant, but because the foundational conditions he described haven't vanished. They haven't been solved and packed away. Instead, they have become more complex, more interconnected, and, thanks to technology, more immediately visible than ever before. At its very core, the idea of the single garment of destiny is about profound interdependence. King was fundamentally arguing that individual success, true freedom, and lasting dignity are not isolated achievements. They are collective outcomes. You cannot have stability for one part of the system if another part is failing. In the 21st century, that powerful, simple idea manifests everywhere we look, coloring every major challenge we face. Let's start by looking at it socially. We often talk about inequality as if it is a problem that only affects the people who are at the bottom of the ladder. But the truth is, inequality doesn't stay contained. It is a poison that ripples through the entire social fabric. When entire communities lack access to quality education, dependable healthcare, or safe, stable housing, the effects of that deprivation are not merely confined to those neighborhoods. They spill outward. We see higher crime rates, which destabilize cities and demand more resources. We see public health crises, which strain medical systems across boundaries. We see social distrust and division that make it impossible to agree on basic civic goals. This isn't just about morality, it's about practical engineering. A society that consciously allows huge segments of its population to fall behind ultimately limits everyone's quality of life. You simply cannot build real, lasting stability on fundamentally uneven ground. The rot in the foundation eventually threatens the penthouse. If we ignore the suffering next door, we invite instability into our own lives. Now, shift that lens to the economy. We observe the exact same truth playing out. The notion that an economy can thrive while simultaneously underpaying, exploiting, or excluding large groups of workers is an economic fallacy. Workers who are not paid a living wage, or who lack basic labor protections, weaken the entire economic structure. Teams, labor markets, and consumer spending, they are all intimately tied together. When one group struggles, the entire machine slows down. We see inflation rise as businesses struggle to find reliable labor or pass costs on to. We see productivity drop because people cannot focus when they are preoccupied with survival. Economic stress doesn't stay local. It spreads like wildfire. Prosperity is not about generating wealth that concentrates in smaller and smaller pockets. Prosperity only lasts when it is shared widely enough to be sustainable, creating a robust, resilient consumer base and a motivated workforce. As King taught, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. King's argument is perhaps proven most painfully in our current era of intense polarization. When different groups stop seeing each other as partners in a shared American or human future, and instead start treating each other as enemies or obstacles to be eliminated. Governance doesn't just get difficult, it breaks down entirely. When trust erodes, the ability to solve shared problems like infrastructure, climate, or taxation vanishes. Rights become fragile. If one group is successful in undermining the voting rights or the civil rights of another group, that victory is incredibly short-sighted, because once the mechanism for eroding rights is established, it never stops there. One group's loss of rights eventually, inevitably, becomes everyone's problem. A society that relies on domination rather than cooperation is a society perpetually on the brink. Moving to the global scale, the reality of this single garment of destiny is now impossible for anyone to ignore. We have had a painful high-definition demonstration that our survival as a species is entirely intertwined. Pandemics, for example, do not respect national borders. A disease outbreak in one region especially one with weak public health infrastructure, rapidly escalates into a global crisis that shuts down economies everywhere. Climate change is perhaps the ultimate example. Environmental damage in one country, massive deforestation, pollution, or unchecked industrial emissions does not just affect that location. It alters global weather patterns, impacts food systems thousands of miles away, drives mass migration, and destabilizes economies worldwide. No single nation, no matter how powerful or wealthy, can truly insulate itself and thrive while the rest of the planet struggles or collapses. Isolationism is not just morally flawed, it is logistically impossible. Finally, King's message cuts deeply on a purely human and moral level. It challenges the seductive and often promoted idea that morality is merely private, or that personal success can be built on indifference to others. He forces us to ask tough questions. If your personal freedom depends directly on the oppression, the silencing, or the suffering of someone else, how real is that freedom? How stable is that comfort? It is incomplete, it is unstable, and it is built on quicksand. King was effectively stating that our moral responsibility extends beyond what we do to others. It includes what we allow to be done to others. Personal success, built on moral indifference, is a hollow victory that is destined to be short-lived. So, in the current-day reality we inhabit, Martin Luther King Jr.'s statement serves as both a profound warning and a crystal-clear roadmap. The warning is simple. Ignoring one another's struggles guarantees our shared failure. We cannot afford to be spectators to injustice, thinking it won't affect us. The roadmap, however, is one of hope and action. Justice, dignity, equality. An opportunity grows stronger and become more secure when we stop seeing them as individual rewards to be hoarded and start seeing them as mutual responsibilities to be shared and built together. We rise together, or we stall together, or we stall together, or we fail together. Dead worse. Not just true in the tumultuous 1960s. It is the defining challenge and the defining reality of the world we live in right now. If this deep dive into interdependence resonated with you, hit the like button. Subscribe for more content that challenges the way we see the world. And let us know in the comments, what is the most powerful modern example of the single garment of destiny you see today? Thanks for watching.